Anybody online? He's flattening the surface of my disc.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, the machinist. He's truing up the front surface. That's a 1/4 inch plate. That's gonna be.
Is that steel or?
Yeah, that's steel. I think it's gonna last forever.
Nice to have chewed up.
Yeah.
That's one of my big pet peeves. Belts.
Yes. Yeah, because when it goes.
Yeah.
That's why you got find those seamless old combat abrasives. Makes them good.
In my pocket.
Ma'am, how are you?
I'm fine, sir. How are you?
Doing well.
Do you have any, are we muted or?
I don't think we're muted. Somebody didn't answer, so
Okay.
I think everybody will start dialing in here in about 5 minutes. Can you put it on?
Tell me I brought the right book.
Good afternoon, Mark Springer here.
Dates 1/10/2020 times 12:55 hours. Here at the Atwood Building, Suite 1236 for the.
Hi, Mark.
Hello, who's this?
This is Joan and, oh, I have to turn my light on, huh?
Can you put this on?
Joan Wilson.
Make sure it's.
I got it. Did you send any other email besides the one yesterday?
I did not.
Okay, that's fine.
There is discussion of something that Glenn just received this morning.
Well, we'll get to that. There's something we can talk about after we convene.
I think it'll be addressed in the hearing.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
And we'll bring it up.
Sounds good.
All right.
Who else is there from the office? I heard James whispering into his tape recorder.
James, Investigator Rooks, and I'm sorry, I don't know your name.
It's Melissa, the
Melissa.
admin officer.
Yep. Okay, and I heard a couple other beeps there.
We're not sure who's on the line. They didn't.
Might be office staff as well.
Yeah. All righty. Well, the sad news is Anchorage peeps. It's 3 below in Bethel.
That sounds like a warming trend. Yeah.
Yep. We're due it.
This is Cindy Benson. I've joined the call, and I have Mr. Bath, Mrs. Bath, and Coaching here with me in my office here in Lincoln.
Okay, Ms. Franklin, good afternoon.
Hi.
Hi, Cindy.
Hello, everyone. That was James, I know. Hi, James.
Okay, somebody else just join us? Okay, are there any other marijuana board members that are on the line?
This is Lauren. I just joined.
Good afternoon, Lauren.
Hey, Mark, this is Nick. I was the guy who just hung up a minute ago, too, so.
Oh, there you go. Sounds legit. Okay, Melissa, Bruce, and, Bruce is coming. How about, Chris? He said he might have a conflict this afternoon?
Yeah, he said he wasn't, he said he was tentative, he may be able to come in, but he had other plans.
Okay, but Bruce confirmed though, right?
He did confirm, yes.
Okay, great. We'll give him a couple more minutes. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. And folks, and Cindy and everybody, go ahead and mute your phones when, you're not talking. I mean, feel free, of course, to jump in, board members, but, Cindy was a little low there. I don't know if you got, whether you're on speakerphone or not, but, we want to make sure we're able to hear all the parties.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I hear you a little better.
Okay.
Yeah, no, you're, yeah. Yeah, no, that's.
I am gonna mute. Did you say that we have all the board members? I'm sorry, I couldn't quite understand who all's here yet.
Yeah, well, I have two other board members online, Nick Miller and Lauren Jones, who are waiting for Bruce Schulte.
Okay, I'm muting us. Thank you.
You know, give Bruce about 2 more minutes, and then we'll just convene. We've got a quorum. Oh, and just for everybody's information, Director Clink, is that you, Bruce? Somebody else just join us?
This is Investigator Johnson in Juneau.
Oh, okay, hi. Yeah, Director Klinkerfeld is at his grandpa's funeral today, so I asked Joan to let him know it was okay to skip out on us.
Mr. Chairman, that's Clinkhart.
Clinkhart, I'm sorry. Yeah, haven't said it enough yet. Thank you for correcting me. It's a good thing we were not on the record. Okay, let's go ahead and start. I've got 102, and so this is. I'm trying to get my watch to work, and it doesn't. Well, yeah, it's 1 o'clock. That's when it doesn't look right. Okay, it's 1 p.m. on January 10th, Friday, January 10th. This is a telephonic meeting of the Alaska Marijuana Control Board. We are convening in the matter of Ronald Bass, handler permit 10571, Lacy Bass, handler permit 21919, DBA Common Collective LLC, license number 10799, and DBA Houston Grass Station LLC, license 11050. We are considering an accusation that has been brought forward by the director of the Alaska Marijuana Control Office. And this time, Melissa, could you please call the roll?
Call the roll. What do I do?
Roll call. Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, James. Go ahead. You can take care of that there. Yeah.
Mark Springer?
I'm here.
Mr. Jaime? Bruce Schulte? Mr. Schulte, did you say you're here?
I didn't hear him.
Okay. Mr. Miller?
Here.
Lauren Jones?
Here.
Cindy Franklin? Are you present with your?
Yeah, James, I'll call on them. Just, tell us who's there from the office.
And here in the office, we have Miss Wilson, Miss Walter, Investigator Rux, and myself, James Holscher.
Okay, we've got another Investigator Johnson, was it, from Juneau?
Yes, he's telephonic on the phone.
Great. Okay, very good. All right, thank you. Okay, Mr. Bass, Mrs. Bass, are you on the line?
Yes, absolutely, here we are.
Yes.
Okay, and you're represented by counsel?
Yes.
And for the record, will you tell us who your counsel is?
Cynthia Franklin.
Okay, Ms. Franklin, you're also present, Ms. Franklin?
I am, I'm here.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Ms. Wilson, of the Alaska Department of Law represents, AMCO in this matter. I will ask her to, well, first of all, Mr. Jones, Mr. Miller, you all have copies of the accusation, is that correct?
We do.
That's correct.
Or at least I do. But I wanted to make one comment. Mr.
Yeah, go ahead.
Wandering around looking for the room.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, so I don't know if someone there can...
Found it, Mr. Schulte.
He found it.
Okay.
Bruce just walked in.
Okay, Mr. Schulte is also present. Good afternoon, Mr. Schulte.
Good afternoon, sorry I'm late.
Yeah, that's no problem. We have just convened. I'm going to ask Miss Wilson, Assistant Attorney General, who is representing AMCO in this matter, to begin by just, you don't have to hit every point if that's okay with you, Ms. Franklin. We have the accusation in our hands, but if you could just, for the record, review the accusation, and then we will, I'll have some questions for you.
Very good.
Mr. This is Cindy, and I just want everyone there to know and for the record to reflect that we do have a copy of the accusation.
Okay, thank you very much.
Very good, Mr. Chair. On December 23rd of 2019, the Marijuana Control Board Director served an accusation upon all of the named respondents personally during a meeting held on that date. So you're aware, following that, on December 31st, the respondents filed a notice of defense. So the counts in this case relate to a matter that you've addressed in the past regarding an administrative hold that was placed on marijuana and products derived from that marijuana based upon an allegation of pesticides that are not permitted to be disseminated on those plants being put on them. As you're aware, we've already come to the board and on it to address enforcement of that administrative hold, and the respondents had no objection to the hold for the purpose of determining whether the pesticides that were alleged to be on the plants were indeed on the plants. Since that hearing, the State Department of Environmental Conservation has sent the plants to an outside lab, and they have confirmed the presence of the pesticides in the levels addressed in the accusation. As an initial matter, none of these products are permitted to be used on marijuana plants. As a second matter, they pose health risk to people, especially if combusted. So where we are today is bringing an accusation based upon witness testimony, alleging that the respondents are responsible for these acts, as well as other acts addressed in the accusation regarding a prior sewer spill that impacted the plants. I can go over each of the counts if you'd like, but that's the general fact scenario of where we are today and why the accusation is before you.
Okay, thank you. Do any board members have any questions, having gone over the accusation? Are there any questions in general about this? Because we're going to have a procedural question here for Ms. Wilson and for Ms. Franklin in a moment. But do board members have any questions they'd like to ask right now? Okay, not hearing any. Ms. Wilson, you and I spoke yesterday,
Sorry,
and
I might have a comment. I'm not certain.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I was just sitting here debating whether I even wanted to ask about it. And I apologize again, I came in late, so I missed the initial introductions. I've read over the 17-page accusation, and I'm wondering, are we going to have an opportunity to hear from the licensee or their counsel on any of the specifics, or is that to come later?
That's part of the procedural question that I'm going to ask Ms. Wilson. We've done these before, but this is, as everybody notes, this is a fairly complex matter in terms of witnesses, in terms of evidence. And so, Ms. Wilson, you and I spoke yesterday. You suggested that, correct me, either yourself or Ms. Franklin, if I'm mistaken on this, that there is a suggestion that the board divert this matter directly to the Office of Administrative Hearings. Is that correct?
That's correct, Mr. Chair. Based upon the complexity of the case, and I will tell you that the defense or the respondents are contesting their responsibility. So we're going to have a number of witnesses that will need to address both the spill and the pesticide issue that would require a fairly lengthy hearing in order for respondents to have due process enough to be able to prove the case by the preponderance of the evidence. So although the Marijuana Control Board is not mandated by the Administrative Procedure Act to refer this accusation to the Office of Administrative Hearing for its first hearing, I do recommend that based upon the complexity of the case and the skill set of the OAH, that this is just the kind of case you want to refer. Now, once referred, we hold a hearing there. And you probably know this from your past experience, the ALJ will issue a proposed decision. Both Ms. Franklin and I can contest that proposed decision, and all our statements and the decision go to the board for a final decision. If during that even reviewing the document, you see something that was not addressed at that hearing that you think should have been addressed, you can refer that back to the Office of Administrative Hearings. So I don't want to leave you with the impression that you're losing all of your authority to decide facts in this matter. You're not. You're always going to be the final decision maker. And as stated, if you're unhappy with the record can be expanded to address your concerns. So,
thank you. Yep. Go ahead.
And you do have statutory authority under 1738, 121E, and under the Administrative Procedure Act to refer this matter to OAH.
Okay, Ms. Franklin, do you have any difference with anything that Ms. Wilson just said?
No, Mr. Chair, thank you. I would add that our specific regulatory scheme anticipates the board being able to make this determination under 3 AAC 306-835B. When we've requested a hearing under this section, the board may request the Office of Administrative Hearings to conduct the hearing in compliance with due process. I'm in agreement with Ms. Wilson that there's going to be a lot of witnesses. It may take a while to get the evidence on. And I am familiar with the Office of Administrative Hearings and believe in them in terms of providing us due process. So I would request, it's not really my position under the regulation for me to request, but recognizing the regulation is there, we're in agreement with Ms. Wilson that that's the best course.
And I do have I'm not entirely certain 835 is applicable to this proceeding because of It says when a grieved person requests a hearing under this section, under A, revocation and suspension is not addressed under that section. So while I dispute that this regulation is directly at play, I believe the statute permits the referral.
Well, I think OAH would tell you really fast whether it did or not.
Yeah.
Okay, board members, you know, as was suggested, there will be a number of witnesses in this matter. Of course, you know, we have an obligation as a board to ensure due process for anybody that comes before us in whatever fashion. I would certainly not want to even begin an issue of this complexity over the telephone. And so I agree that going with the office myself, I agree with going with to the Office of Administrative Hearings, asking them to you know, conduct the hearing in this matter, and as they have done before for us, come up with a proposed settlement or a proposed decision. They would, as they do, the administrative law judge would bring it to us, meet with us in executive session. We'd get a chance to go over everything. It'd probably be a little more complex than that, given the size of this. But I would feel much more comfortable letting you know, an administrative law judge preside over this matter up to the point where we are ready to, based on that record, render a decision. So I'll open the floor up to the board if anybody has any comments on that idea.
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
Is there a time frame around this?
Ms. Wilson?
Was that Mr. Jones? I didn't hear who asked that question.
No, it was Mr. Miller.
So, Mr. Miller, once the matter is referred to OAH, there is a time frame that applies unless both parties agree to expand the time frame. And my belief is, according to their normal procedure, we try to get to a hearing within 6 weeks. The administrative law judge then has 30 days to issue a proposed decision, and then the parties have 2 weeks to issue proposals for action. So what does that get us at? Six weeks, a month and a half, 2 months, 2 to 3 months, I think would be a norm. Another option is if the parties are thinking that a consent agreement might resolve this matter, OAH does have a mediation track, and that goes fairly quickly. It could come to you even sooner than that.
Okay, and through this 2-month process, what is the licensee's status?
Through the chair, this is Joan Wilson. Currently, all products they have or may have, to my understanding, is an administrative hold. So there's no ability, no public, and Mr. Rooks can correct me if I'm wrong, but there's no public safety risk of the product being disseminated. There is still an issue of the grow, and I know Ms. Franklin and the respondent have an approach that they would like to discuss either with AMCO or with the OAH about how to address that. But I think at a minimum they would have the ability to maintain their plants and not sell. I don't know if Ms. Franklin disagrees with any of that, but that's my understanding of where they are.
Ms. Franklin? And not of course asking you to commit to anything right now, but if there's something we can discuss after the board finishes talking about the going to OAH issue.
And if I may add, the retail store may still operate, it just may not sell common collective products.
Okay.
That's my understanding, Mr. Chair, Franklin, that whether it was the board or the OAH who had the evidentiary hearing, that we would request status quo on the administrative hold process. If there's a desire of the AMCO staff to discuss disposition of the health product before we can get the evidentiary hearing set up and going. I believe that Ms. Wilson and I could confer on that and perhaps split just that section of the accusation out in order to address it in a more timely manner. And we're in favor of that as well. I know it doesn't seem like it would be practical if this thing stretches out months and months and months for those holds to remain as they are, but I don't think that there's any necessity to change the status quo until we get to a point where we're sitting down and trying to talk about resolution and how the case is going to go forward.
Mr. Chairman?
I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Shirley.
So I just want to clarify, and Nick touched on this. I think we have an understanding. I just want to be really clear on this. So at this point, both Ron and Lacy Bass still have their marijuana handlers cards, and the retail store is still open. They're able to sell products from other cultivators, other processors. But anything that they grow is on administrative hold. They can continue to grow it. They can continue to harvest and cure it and do whatever, but it can't leave the premises. Is that?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, thanks. I don't have any other questions.
Okay, so on the matter of going to OAH, Mr. Jones, any thoughts?
Makes more sense to me unless we're willing to hold a hearing in person. I'd rather bypass us and go straight to the Office of Administrative Appeals, because that's where I feel we'd probably end up anyway.
Okay, then somebody would care to make a motion that the matter of case AM 19-1700, Ronald Bass, Lacy Bass, Common Collective, and Houston Grass Station be referred to the Office of Administrative Hearings. That motion would be entertained.
So moved. Schulte.
Okay, moved by Mr. Schulte. Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Miller.
Second by Mr. Miller. Is there any discussion? And I'm guessing, Ms. Wilson, that this is going to be a petition, or you got to file a motion with the OAH for them to take the case.
Well, normally what happens is the accusation and the notice of defense simply get walked up to the Office of Administrative Hearings. So I'll work with the AMCO, and it's usually the agency that does that. So
Okay.
I'll work with the AMCO staff and letting them do that. And it's what is it, a 7-floor elevator ride to get
Sure. Okay, very good.
out to us as the parties to start to.
All right. Okay, any other discussion on the motion? Not hearing anybody, we'll take a roll call. Mr. Schulte?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
And I'm a yes, and so with that case, AM 19-1700 is referred to the Office of Administrative Hearings. Now, on the matter of status quo, anything that's being grown at Common Collective, anything that's being cured is subject to the administrative hold. Ms. Franklin, is Common Collective continuing to conduct new cultivation? Taking this little discussion on there. Yep.
Cindy Franklin, Mr. Chair, in answer to your question, yes, they're proceeding with cultivation under the the revised operating plan with regard to those chemicals that the DEC approved.
Okay, so they're doing new starts is my question.
Okay. Mr. Chair, the metric hold prevents them from doing much. I mean, they want to do new starts, but because they can't really do anything in metric regarding cultivation, you know.
Okay, all right, okay, thank you. All right, so, your clients understand how the Office of Administrative Hearings, process is gonna work?
Mr. Chair, yes, we had an hour-long discussion before the meeting about all of the steps of that process.
Okay, very good, very good. All right, board members, getting any other questions or, with regard to this, particularly for Ms. Wilson on how this is gonna go?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Schulte?
Go ahead, Ms. Shirley.
Maybe this is a question for down the road, but I'll raise it now because down the road's going to be too late. You know, reading the accusation, there's a suggestion of some pretty serious contamination of this grow, of all sorts. And if we get to a point in 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever, where the licensee is asking to have the administrative hold released for some product harvested at a later date, I guess I would want to know what has been done to the grow to ensure that it's sanitary. Because right now, I mean, some of these accusations are pretty stark, and again, this is getting. I guess I'm throwing this out there as in deference to the licensee, because if we get to that point 2 or 3 months from now and nothing concrete has been done to sanitize the facility, I'd be really reluctant to see any of this product released to the public. But I'll say that now so that we're not having an awkward discussion 3 months from now.
Sure. Well, obviously there's the product that's been administratively seized now. I think you've probably seen. I hope you've seen. It is all being impounded for destruction by enforcement. So anything that's been in the stores, anything that's administratively held, is basically gone now. It's off the market completely. And I would venture that depending on the ultimate outcome, that if there was going to be the scenario you're discussing, I think there would probably be some here's a quarter for the pot, some stringent conditions on reopening. But that's a speculation on my part. I'm not speaking for the board. But I would agree with you, Mr. Schulte. I would share your concerns entirely. But let's cross that bridge when we come to it.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Goldsmith.
For the record, I would like to clarify that we are just collecting the marijuana and marijuana product that is held at retailers and other licensees, not at Common Collective, and we are collecting them with the assistance of licensees that have volunteered to collect them for us and investigators going out in the field, which these items will be held until the board determines the outcome, or OAH determines the outcome of what's going to happen with these. And I also would like to, thank Bruce for bringing up the issue of the marijuana and the cleanliness of it, because as a reminder, regardless of what happens with this, at the end of it, we do not have a mechanism to test for pesticides. We had to use an outside source. So whatever happens from here, I'm absolutely interested, and I appreciate the comment. Thank you, Mr.
Yeah, and thank you for the accurate correction on my statement, Chief. I appreciate that. And I will say that in past conversations with individuals that have been intrigued by cultivation, I certainly heard them say, nobody's going into my place without Tyvek suits and booties. So, but again, that comment should not be taken as directed towards Common Collective, Ms. Franklin. That's just aside to the board. But we do, our interest is public health and safety, and as was expressed by Mr. Schulte and by Chief Holscher and by myself, that that's foremost of all. But okay, so the motion's been made, it's been passed.
Through the chair,
Yeah,
can I ask one more question?
Sure, go ahead.
This is Mr. Miller for clarification. It's based on Mr. Schulte's question. So, and clarification, So right now, there's an administrative hold on all harvested marijuana and all plants that were in cultivation at the time the administrative hold was put on. If someone did decide to do a bunch of cuttings or plant a bunch of seeds next week, do those go on administrative hold, or how does that work?
Yeah, that was the crux of my question. Chief, we'll go to you, and I believe, Ms. Franklin, you said that they're not doing any new planting or not. But Chief, go ahead and take it away first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So what we have been doing is monitoring Common Collective's metric activity, and when they clone or take a clipping from a mother plant or create new clippings from clones or put plants in vegetative status from clones, we have been putting those on hold, administrative hold, so they can't be transferred or moved to another licensee. So essentially what Common Collective has been resorted to doing is normally what they do, but they just can't transfer it. They are not restricted in any way from this administrative hold from not growing anything. They can still grow things, grow the marijuana, they just can't transfer it out of their facility. If that makes any sense whatsoever. And an administrative hold, seizure in place. So they can't do anything other than take care of their plants and go about their business as they would have been, with the exception of transferring to another licensee.
Mr. Chairman, Bruce Schulte.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Schulte.
Sorry, I'm not sure if I'm going to clarify or further confuse my earlier comments, but I'll try. I guess where I was going with that is, there would appear to have been some contamination of pesticides, of human waste, of various kinds in the facility in the past. If we anticipate, looking in the future, if we're in March or April and we're looking at releasing some products from an administrative hold, I would expect to see some period of time where the facility was completely shut down, emptied, and sterilized. That's what I was getting at, because in my view, there has to be a point in time where we can look at the record, video and otherwise, and say that facility is as sanitary as one could reasonably expect for product that's being grown and sold to the public. That's what I was getting at.
Yeah, and I understood you'd be putting it that way as well.
Mr. Chair, this is Cindy Franklin, if I could.
Go ahead, Ms. Franklin.
For the board, and especially in light of Mr. Holter's comments, Common Collective has not been growing new plants. And so, if they have clippings or something that's being put in metric and then being held, I want to assure Mr. Schulte and the board that Common Collective, as soon as the administrative hold is resolved in some way, have already a plan to take down their structure, to clean the facility out, to sterilize it, and when they get back up and running, as we hope they will have done all of those things that Mr. Schulte expressed concern about.
Okay, all right, thank you. And we're at the point now where we probably, given that the matter is handed over to Ms. Wilson, if you take note, if any of this has gotten to the point of being the potential for ex parte communication, if you could just study that for us, and maybe let me know for sure. But anyways, okay. With that, let's not go any further talking about about Common Collective or anything in the future, because the matter has been handed off. Is there any other business to come before the board? Okay, not hearing any. Then we will see everybody in Juneau, weather permitting. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Yes, they're hoping. Oh, you moved to adjourn? Oh, I thought you said Mr. Chair. Yeah, okay, motion to adjourn by Mr. Schulte. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Mr. Miller. All those in favor of adjourning, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we'll see you folks in Juneau. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Chair, I thank you for allowing us to attend. My client thanks you as well.